Christian McCaffrey was ranked as the 11th best running back in the 2014 college football recruiting class, so where are the 10 running backs ranked higher than him now? Well, to start at number 10 is Jeff Jones, coming out of Fullerton, California, who committed to play for Minnesota. And he was a complete bust, redshirting in Minnesota before playing in 3 games in 2015. After this, though, he got in legal troubles and was kicked off the team, but attempted to make a comeback in football. He enrolled and played at Independence Community College and was a solid player there, but would get in legal troubles once again, which ended his football career. And coming in at number 9 is Joseph Yerby, coming out of Miami, Florida, who committed to play for the Miami Hurricanes. And he had a great true freshman season at Miami before bursting on the scene in 2015 with over 1,000 rushing yards as he'd be named a third-team All-ACC selection. After this, he followed it up with another solid season at Miami in 2016, but sadly still went undrafted. And he never made it in the NFL, playing professional football in the Alliance of American Football. And now he currently works as the bus manager for Valdosta City Schools. And coming in at number 8 is Elijah Hood, coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina, who committed to play for the North Carolina Tar Heels. And he didn't do much in his true freshman season before bursting on the scene in 2015 with 1,467 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns. He was a first-team All-ACC selection and followed this up with another great year in 2016 where he'd be a third-team All-ACC selection. Still, despite this, he'd only be selected in the 7th round of the 2017 NFL Draft by the Oakland Raiders and only ever played 1 game for them. After this, he began to bounce around the NFL and last played in the XFL in 2020. And at number 7 is Royce Freeman, coming out of Imperial, California, who committed to play for the Oregon Ducks. And he had an absolutely dominating true freshman season at Oregon in 2014 as he had 1,365 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns. It was amazing, but took it to a whole new level in 2015 with over 1,800 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns. And then he would go on to play 2 more seasons, finishing his career with over 4,000 rushing yards and 50 touchdowns there. And in his career, he was a first-team All-Pac-12 selection, the Pac-12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, and even an All-American. But even despite this, he was still only drafted in the 3rd round of the 2018 NFL Draft by the Broncos, where he was solid for 3 seasons but never great. After this, he really began to bounce around the NFL and many different practice squads, last playing with the Rams in 2025. And coming in at number 6 is Nick Chubb, coming out of Cedartown, Georgia, who committed to play for the Georgia Bulldogs. He also dominated in his true freshman season there, having 1,547 rush yards and 14 touchdowns on 7.1 yards per carry. He was named the SEC Freshman of the Year and followed this up with 3 more amazing seasons for the Bulldogs, where he actually became a first-team All-SEC selection. And this allowed him to be selected in the 2nd round of the 2018 NFL Draft by the Cleveland Browns. And in his first 6 seasons in the NFL with the Browns, he was dominant and one of the best running backs in the entire league, but in the last 2 years, injuries have slowly began to derail his career. Nevertheless, he's already made 4 Pro Bowls in his career. And just cracking into the top 5 is Rock Thomas, coming out of Oxford, Alabama, who committed to play for the Auburn Tigers. And in his first 2 years at Auburn, he was solid but never amazing, so in 2016, he transferred to Jacksonville State. And at Jacksonville State, he was a good running back, but still went undrafted in 2018 and signed with the Vikings, where he actually got to play 5 games in his rookie season. After this, though, he never really played in the NFL and last played with the Calgary Stampeders in 2020. And coming in at number 4 is Sony Michel, coming out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who committed to play for the Georgia Bulldogs. And in his 4 years at Georgia, he was great, and him and Nick Chubb formed one of the scariest running back duos in college football history. He had over 3,500 rushing yards and 35 touchdowns in his career there. So this allowed him to be selected 31st overall in the 2018 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots, where he was good there for 3 seasons but was never great. He then joined the Rams in 2021 and began to bounce around the NFL, but did win 2 Super Bowls in his career and officially retired in 2023. And coming in at number 3 is Joe Mixon, coming out of Oakley, California, who committed to play for the Oklahoma Sooners. And he redshirted his freshman season there before having 2 dominant years as Oklahoma's starting running back. He was great for Oklahoma, and this allowed him to be selected in the 2nd round of the 2017 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. He played 7 seasons for the Bengals and was amazing, joining the Houston Texans in 2024, and he's made 2 Pro Bowls in his career thus far. And coming in at number 2 is Dalvin Cook, coming out of Miami, Florida, who committed to play for Florida State. And he had a great true freshman season at Florida State, having 1,000 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. He then took this to a whole new level in his next 2 seasons at Florida State, having over 1,600 rushing yards and 19 touchdowns in each of these seasons. And in these years, he was a 2-time All-American and even won the Jim Brown Trophy, which allowed him to be selected in the 2nd round of the 2017 NFL Draft by the Minnesota Vikings. And he played 6 amazing seasons with the Vikings before injuries began to slow him down and he bounced around the NFL, last playing for the Cowboys in 2024. And coming in at number 1 was Leonard Fournette, coming out of New Orleans, Louisiana, who committed to play for the LSU Tigers. And he had a great true freshman season there in 2014, having over 1,000 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. After this, though, in 2015, he had one of the best running back seasons in college football history with 1,953 rushing yards and 22 touchdowns as he'd be named a consensus All-American. After this, he had one more great season at LSU before being selected 4th overall in the 2017 NFL Draft by the Jaguars. And at times, he was a pretty good running back for the Jaguars, but was overall a bust, being cut after 3 seasons with them. After this, he signed with the Buccaneers, where he was a pretty solid running back for a couple years, even winning a Super Bowl with them. After that, though, he last played with the Bills in 2023.